The chamber thrummed with a low, resonant energy. A symphony of apprehension played out across the obsidian faces of the Krill Council. Outside, the crimson sun of Xylos bled across the crystalline spires of the capital, mirroring the crimson tide of fear that swelled within the hearts of the assembled elders. Each Krill, a being of living stone and echoing thought, felt the weight of the unknown pressing down upon them, a cold void threatening to consume the very foundations of their empire. The sensors, usually a source of comfort, now spat out data like venom, painting a portrait of the celestial invaders, humanity. They were a species known only through fragmented transmissions, whispers of a species that had risen from the ashes of a destroyed world, a world they called Earth, and now posed a terrifying question. Were they a threat or salvation? The Grand Arbiter, the oldest and wisest of the Krill, its form a monolith of etched histories and silent judgments, stirred. Its voice, a deep rumble that seemed to emanate from the very bedrock of Xylos, broke the tense silence. The reports continue to be ambiguous. Their fleet, if one can call it that, is unlike anything we have encountered. It is cobbled together, a patchwork of refuse. A celestial scrapyard, a grotesque parody of the elegant war machines we so meticulously craft. A murmur, a collective ripple of unease, flowed through the council. The Krill, architects of the void, were masters of elegant destruction. Their vessels, sleek and obsidian-like, sliced through the galactic currents with the grace of predators, each crafted with the precision of millennia. The thought of a fleet built from scrap was unsettling, to say the least. It mocked their order, their perfection. "The intelligence reports suggest a defiance of known laws," spoke the war counselor, its voice a sharp, brittle echo. "Their weaponry appears to function on principles we do not understand, energy signatures that defy the established theorems of the Zithonian Concordance. Their defenses, equally unorthodox. They seem to anticipate our strategies, to evolve in response." The Grand Diplomat, whose voice carried the weight of 1,000 star systems negotiated, raised a slender, almost fragile limb. "And yet they have not attacked. They have maintained a silence. A strategic silence, perhaps, but a silence nonetheless. We have attempted communication, with mixed results." The images flickered across the main hollow display, showing the clumsy, erratic attempts at communication. The Krill's attempts at complex signals were met with incomprehensible bursts of data, static, and occasionally crude pictorial representations that bordered on the offensive. A particularly unflattering image of a Krill vessel, rendered in what appeared to be primitive but powerful visual software, had caused a considerable amount of internal debate amongst the counselors. "Their understanding of the galactic laws is rudimentary," the war counselor observed with a dismissive rumble. "They appear to be unaware of the protocols of first contact, the established rules of engagement. They have shown no respect for the established treaties, no acknowledgement of the established hierarchy. Perhaps," the Grand Arbiter intoned, its voice carrying an undercurrent of thoughtful gravity, "that is their strength. Ignorance in this case might be a weapon." It paused, the silence stretching taut, pregnant with unspoken fears. "Or it might be their weakness." The discussion stretched on, the echoes of debate filling the grand chamber. The Krill were a patient species, accustomed to observing the slow dance of the cosmos, but the uncertainty surrounding humanity was a sharp, persistent pain. Their history was littered with the remnants of civilizations that had failed to adapt, cultures that had underestimated the unpredictable shifts of the universe. The Krill had survived this long because they were masters of adaptation, but humanity presented a challenge unlike any they had faced. They were a riddle, a paradox, an unknown quantity that threatened to unravel the very fabric of their carefully constructed reality. The war counselor advocated for a preemptive strike, a swift and decisive blow to eliminate the threat before it could mature. The diplomat urged caution, emphasizing the potential repercussions of such an act. The Grand Arbiter listened, its ancient core weighing the potential risks and rewards. Every Krill present knew that the decision once made would echo through the history of their people, through the annals of the cosmos. Across the vastness of space, in the darkness between galaxies, the Scrapyard fleet drifted. In the dim glow of artificial lights in the tight confines of each repurposed vessel, the humans watched, listened, and waited. The bridge of the Odyssey Asterisk, a vessel cobbled together from a derelict mining freighter and retrofitted with scavenged weaponry, was a symphony of controlled chaos. The air hummed with the quiet efficiency of humans doing what they do best, adapting, innovating, and surviving. Captain Eva Rostova, a woman forged in the fires of planetary conflicts and hardened by the realities of space, stood at the command console, her gaze fixed on the endless expanse of stars. "Status report, Lieutenant Chen," she said, her voice calm and steady, betraying none of the anxieties that gnawed at her. Sensors picking up significant energy fluctuations, Captain, Chen replied, his fingers dancing across the control panel. Krill fleet activity appears to be escalating. They're observing us, I think. Observing, Rostova repeated, her expression unreadable. They seem to be taking their sweet time, don't they? They are studying us, Captain. Dr. Aris Thorne, a xenolinguist and the ship's primary communications officer, spoke from the side console. They are attempting to categorize us to understand our nature. Rostova turned, her gaze meeting Thorne's. He was a man of intense curiosity, driven by a deep respect for all life, but she sensed a flicker of unease in his eyes. The Krill were powerful, and their intentions remained a mystery. "And what have you deciphered, Doctor?" she asked. Thorne hesitated. "Their language is complex, Captain, filled with philosophical concepts and complex metaphors. It's hard to translate, but I think the gist is that they see us as crude, unrefined, a threat to the order of things." "Order," Rostova murmured, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. "They think we threaten their order. That's interesting." She turned back to the main view screen, which displayed a fragmented image of the Krill fleet, a collection of sleek obsidian vessels. "Signal them, Doctor. Relay the standard greeting." The greeting, a simple message of peace and goodwill, was a gesture of formality, but Rostova knew the true purpose of the message was to buy time. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but the humans had one advantage the Krill did not anticipate: the spirit of a species that had stared death in the face and refused to yield. The transmission was sent. Silence filled the bridge, a silence that stretched and threatened to suffocate. Then a reply came, a series of complex data bursts that Thorne worked diligently to translate. "They are confused, Captain," Thorne reported, his voice filled with a hint of bewilderment. "They are asking why we exist, why we are here. They don't understand our purpose. They are questioning our ethics." "Ethics," Rostova repeated, a low chuckle escaping her lips. "Well, that's rich." "They are judging us, Captain," Chen interjected. "They are scrutinizing our every move, every word." "Let them," Rostova replied, her voice firm. "Let them see, let them understand." She turned to face her crew, her eyes filled with a quiet intensity. "We are humanity, and we are not defined by what we were, but by what we will become." The crew, a tapestry of races, cultures, and experiences, from the battle-hardened veterans to the fresh-faced recruits, steeled themselves, united in their shared purpose. They were ready. The humans, the scrappy survivors, were ready to show the universe what they were capable of. They were ready to challenge the Krill's perception of order. Days turned into weeks. The Krill continued their observation. The political turmoil on the Krill Council was intense. The war counselors' calls for decisive action grew louder, while the diplomats' cautious approach was increasingly disregarded. The Grand Arbiter, the only Krill with the perspective to understand the long view, remained in a contemplative silence, watching, observing, gathering data. The human fleet, the scrappy fleet of scrapyards, continued their own activities. They responded to the Krill's inquiries with patient explanations, open and honest. Their communication was, at first, crude, but it steadily improved. Through Thorne's meticulous work, the humans and Krill established a tentative dialogue, slowly bridging the chasm of misunderstanding. The Krill, accustomed to predictable foes, were bewildered. The humans did not attack, they did not retreat. They simply existed. They continued to repair their vessels, a constant process of adaptation. They built new weapons. They conducted scientific research. They even, to the Krill's amazement, opened themselves up for inspection. The Grand Arbiter made a decision. It was a high-risk move, an unprecedented departure from the Krill's traditional methods of engagement, but the uncertainty surrounding humanity was too great. A delegation was sent. The arrival of the Krill delegation on the Odyssey was a moment of profound significance, a cinematic ballet of cautious interaction. The Krill, majestic in their polished obsidian armor, stood in stark contrast to the utilitarian surroundings of the human vessel. The tension in the air was palpable, thick with fear, curiosity, and the weight of interspecies relations. Captain Rostova met them, her face composed and resolute. She greeted the Krill delegation with the formal protocol the humans had painstakingly developed. She had no fear of the Krill. They were powerful, but she had seen far worse. The Krill were led through the ship, their silent observers, their stone-like faces impassive. They were shown the engineering decks, the living quarters, the makeshift armories. They saw the humans working, collaborating, and striving toward a common goal. They saw the human spirit in action, an inexhaustible resilience and the unrelenting drive to improve their lives, even in the most dire circumstances. They were then escorted to the ship's command center, where Rostova presented her case. "We understand your concerns," Rostova began, her voice clear and strong. "You see our vessels, our technology, and you are puzzled." but we ask you to see beyond the surface, to see the core of what we are. On the main view screen, she showed them a comprehensive presentation of human history, the rise and fall of civilizations, the wars, the moments of triumph, the moments of crushing despair. The Krill watched in silent fascination, their internal computations struggling to process the complexity of human experience. "We have made mistakes," she continued. "We have committed atrocities, but we have also learned, we have grown. We have adapted, we have, despite the odds, survived." She then unveiled a diagram of their fleet, showing how their vessels, the Scrapyard fleet, had been meticulously rebuilt. She outlined their defense strategies, their battle tactics. She even demonstrated some of their weapon systems. "We do not seek conquest," Rostova said, her voice filled with conviction. "We seek survival. We seek understanding. We seek to build a future not just for ourselves, but for all of us." Then Rostova revealed their true power, not their weapons, not their technology, but their philosophy. "We believe in the power of the collective," she said. "We believe in cooperation. We believe in innovation and creativity. We believe that we are stronger together than we are apart." The presentation, the raw authenticity of Rostova's words, had a profound effect on the Krill delegation. Their rigid order, their fear of chaos, began to shift. They started to see a different world through human eyes, a world of potential and promise. The war counselor was not the first to look away, but the Grand Arbiter did not. The diplomat did not. All the Krill saw their own reflection of their species, core principles within the chaos of the human struggle. Back on the Krill Council, the debate continued, now at a different pitch. The war counselor, frustrated by the human demonstration, continued his warnings. However, the tide was starting to shift. The Grand Diplomat, having received the detailed reports from the delegation, offered a more balanced perspective, arguing that the humans, despite their unorthodox methods, possessed a strategic advantage. "They do not fight for territory," the Grand Diplomat said. "They fight for survival. They do not value hierarchy. They value cooperation. They are unpredictable, yes, but not inherently malicious." "They are a threat," the war counselor spat back. "Cannot afford to leave their survival unmanaged. This unpredictability is a weakness, as it goes against all we know." "Perhaps, war counselor, that is your weakness," the Grand Arbiter countered. Its voice, calm and measured, cut through the tension. "We have spent millennia studying the intricacies of order, and yet we have forgotten the power of the unexpected. Humanity, with all their flaws and their scrappy fleet, has something we in our calculated perfection have lost: the capacity for surprise. For innovation, for adaptation." The Arbiter paused, its stone face slowly turning to face the war counselor. "Their methods are unconventional, yes, but their ethics are sound. They may be new to the galactic stage, but they are not dangerous. They are adaptable, and it is this characteristic that makes them our allies." The silence that followed was heavy, fraught with the implications of the decision. The Krill Council was about to make a monumental shift in their understanding of the universe. They were no longer going to see humanity as a threat, but as an opportunity. A bridge to a future that until now had seemed out of reach. A vote was cast. The Grand Arbiter's words had found their resonance. The motion was carried. The Krill would offer an alliance. The Krill would attempt to build a lasting relationship. The Krill would. The decision had been made. The official alliance was signed in the heart of Xylos, in the grandest hall of the Krill Empire. The chamber, carved from a single piece of crystal, was designed to emphasize the elegance and serenity of the Krill civilization. Yet the atmosphere was one of palpable tension. The weight of the moment was almost unbearable. Rostova, alongside a group of human dignitaries, stood across from the Krill Council. It was a scene of stark contrasts. The sleek lines of the human officers contrasted sharply with the imposing forms of the Krill elders. However, as Rostova locked eyes with the Grand Arbiter, she sensed not fear but respect. The Grand Arbiter began, its voice a deep rumble that echoed through the vast chamber. "Humans of Earth, you have shown us that the universe is not as static as we once believed. You have demonstrated that even the most damaged can be rebuilt, and that even the most fragile can be strong. We have witnessed your resilience, your creativity, and your unwavering commitment to a better future. We, the Krill, extend to you an alliance, a pledge of mutual defense, a promise of shared knowledge." Rostova stepped forward, her voice resonating with sincerity. "We accept your offer, Grand Arbiter. We, too, believe in a future where all species can thrive, where understanding triumphs over fear, and where cooperation can conquer even the darkest threats." The agreement was sealed with the exchange of gifts: a Krill technological marvel, a powerful energy core, and a human artifact, a collection of salvaged books that contained the full history of Earth. As the leaders of both species signed the alliance, a wave of hope washed over the assembled dignitaries. However, as the celebrations began, a subtle tremor ran through the chamber, a ripple of unease that only a few noticed. A signal, old and cryptic, had begun to transmit. In the heart of the galaxy, the Krill Council and the human dignitaries stood together. Rostova, in the center of the Krill Hall, stared at the immense hollow screen. "What is that?" Chen asked, his voice hushed. The image on the screen was of a structure that defied comprehension. An ancient, derelict construct, far more massive than anything the Krill had ever encountered, slowly emerged from the darkness. It was a skeletal framework of titanic proportions, a testament to a long-forgotten civilization that had reached for the stars. The Grand Arbiter's voice was filled with a chilling solemnity. "It is a remnant of the progenitors, an extinct race of godlike beings who had vanished millennia ago, leaving behind only these cosmic relics." The progenitors were spoken of in Krill myths, beings whose technology and intellect were so advanced that they were considered to be divine. They were the architects of the universe, and their sudden disappearance was one of the greatest mysteries of the cosmos. "What does it mean?" Rostova asked, her voice calm despite the shock that coursed through her. The Grand Diplomat, having scanned the data, replied with somber gravity. "The signal is emanating from within the structure. It is a message, a warning, a call." The message. The Grand Diplomat then relayed the message to the crew. The message was long, complex, and full of strange symbols and alien words, but Thorn, who had been listening attentively, began to understand. "It is a warning," Thorn declared, his voice filled with awe. "A warning of a cosmic threat, a force of pure, destructive energy that seeks to devour all life." "A galactic plague," Chen interjected. "A cosmic entity," Thorn said, his voice grim. "It's hungry, and it's coming." The image on the screen zoomed in. A series of strange glyphs, radiating an unsettling aura, filled the viewport. The glyphs began to pulse, and the energy in the chamber increased exponentially. The War Counselor, his voice filled with urgency, called out, "This changes everything. We must prepare for war." The Grand Arbiter, however, was already taking the steps to prepare, its voice a calm, focused roar. "Yes, but this war is not a war that we alone can fight. Humanity, the adaptability that you showed us, is key." "What do you mean?" Rostova asked. The Arbiter turned to Rostova, his stone face radiating sincerity. "This is not a threat to our species alone. This is a threat to the galaxy and all sentient life. Humanity, your capacity for innovation, your ability to adapt, your ethics, and your willingness to cooperate make you the key to surviving this nightmare." Rostova's heart froze. She knew that there was only one thing they could do. She looked at her crew and at the Krill Council. "We will fight," Rostova declared, her voice filled with conviction. "We will build a shield. We will stand against the darkness, together." The image on the screen shifted. The derelict structure slowly turned, revealing a single point of light, a star-consuming portal. Beyond the portal was the abyss. The following weeks and months were a flurry of activity, an orchestrated dance of desperation and ingenuity. The Krill, with their advanced technology and understanding of space, and the humans, with their scrappy ingenuity and unconventional tactics, began to work together. The Krill provided schematics and blueprints for defense systems, shields, and weapons. The humans, with their talent for improvisation, used their skills and knowledge to adapt the designs to their own technology. They worked around the clock, united in their shared determination to survive. Rostova oversaw the training of the combined forces. She taught the Krill to embrace chaos, to think outside the box. She taught the humans to value discipline, to embrace order. The two species, once distrustful strangers, became comrades in arms. The Krill, with their stoic nature and meticulous planning, learned to trust in human intuition. The humans, with their brash spirit and reckless courage, learned to respect Krill stoicism. Together, they formulated a strategy. The portal, the gateway to destruction, had to be closed. They were determined to meet the enemy in its domain and win the war. As the Krill ships and the human vessels coalesced into a single, unified fleet, Rostova stood on the bridge of the Asterisk Odyssey. The atmosphere was tense, but the crew's faces were set with grim determination. "Report, Lieutenant Chen," Rostova said, her voice calm and steady, despite the tremor of fear. "All systems nominal, Captain," Chen reported. "Fleet formation complete, waiting for your order." "Dr. Thorn, is the progenitor signal fully analyzed?" Thorn nodded. "Yes, Captain, we now understand the glyphs. We can use them to destabilize the portal." "Good, very good." Rostova turned, facing the view screen. The portal, the gate to annihilation, was growing larger. Its energy field crackled with ominous power. "They are coming," the Grand Arbiter said, its voice echoing through the network. "The enemy is approaching." "Then let us meet them," Rostova said, her voice filled with resolve. Rostova, looking across the bridge, saw the Krill delegation ready and waiting. She looked at her crew. She knew that everything would be decided soon. She took a deep breath. "Launch all ships," Rostova commanded. "For Earth, for Xylos, for the galaxy. Engage." The ships, a symphony of krill elegance and human ingenuity, surged forward. The battle was the greatest ever recorded. Krill, with their advanced weaponry, formed the vanguard, their sleek vessels unleashing a torrent of energy against the approaching enemy. The humans, with their ingenuity and improvisation, formed the flanks, their scrappy ships dodging and weaving through the chaos. The enemy, a wave of cosmic energy, swept toward them with terrifying speed, destroying everything in its path. It was an assault of raw, destructive power, unlike anything either species had ever witnessed. The krill had calculated every variable. The humans had improvised every maneuver. The universe was witness to the full potential of two species working together. Rostova, aboard the Odyssey, directed the battle with ruthless precision. She issued orders, monitored the damage, and kept her crew focused. "Maintain formation," she shouted over the comms. "Focus your fire on the leading edge of the energy front." The humans' unconventional tactics proved to be surprisingly effective. Their quick movements and surprising attacks, combined with the krill's superior firepower, started to take a toll on the enemy. They fought with a tenacity and resolve that even the krill, who were familiar with sacrifice, had to respect. Thorn, working tirelessly, was able to isolate the control signal within the progenitor portal. They needed to hit this signal with a focused blast of energy in order to close the portal. The only problem was, this required an extremely powerful source of energy, beyond anything either species had in their arsenal. The solution came from an unexpected source. During the war, as they were working together, the humans and krill had learned each other's languages and shared knowledge, and had started to understand the philosophical underpinnings of each other's species. They had begun to trust each other. The krill engineers working with the human engineers had developed a risky but promising prototype, a weapon that could channel the energy of a dying star. It was a weapon of last resort, a suicide mission, but it was their only chance. The Asterisk Odyssey was chosen. "Captain," Chen said, his voice filled with apprehension. "The star is aligned. We can move into position to engage the portal." Rostova nodded grimly. "Understood. All non-essential personnel to escape pods." "Dr. Thorne, prepare for the final transmission." Thorne, his face pale, turned to face Rostova. "Are you certain, Captain? This is a one-way trip." Rostova met his gaze. "We do what we must, Doctor. We will make the sacrifices that must be made to save all of us." Thorne nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. He activated the communication link, ready to send the final message. As the Asterisk Odyssey began to maneuver into position, a message of peace and unity was relayed to all ships in the fleet. The final words were for humanity, for Earth, for all the sentient species of the galaxy. "We are humanity," Thorne transmitted. "We fought to preserve life, to build a future. We offer you our final message. Never give up, never lose hope. Remember us." Rostova, at the helm, looked at her crew. She saw the fear, but also the love, the compassion, the dedication. She felt a surge of pride. They were, in the face of oblivion, a team. The Asterisk Odyssey was then directed toward the portal, a ship of scraps against a cosmic force. The view screen began to fill with images of the approaching enemy as the image began to grow larger and larger. "Engage the star core," Rostova ordered. As the Asterisk Odyssey surged forward, Rostova thought of all those who were not there, of her friends, her family, and everyone who had died for the human race. She thought of the future she would not see, of the new alliances and of the new cultures. She smiled. She knew her sacrifice would not be in vain. The Asterisk Odyssey, using a combination of human ingenuity and krill technology, unleashed a surge of pure energy at the glyphs. The effect was immediate. The portal began to destabilize, the glyphs crackled, and the energy force shrieked. A wave of light exploded across the battlefield. The portal closed. The Asterisk Odyssey was gone. The silence that followed was broken by the quiet, mournful hum of the krill vessels. The enemy was in retreat. The galaxy was safe, but the cost was immense. The krill and the humans, united in grief, mourned the loss of the Asterisk Odyssey and its crew. Rostova's sacrifice, the sacrifice of humanity, resonated through the galaxy. The Grand Arbiter, its stone face etched with sorrow, addressed the assembled fleet. "Humans, you have shown us the true meaning of courage. You have given us hope. You have become the beacon of our combined future." The humans, with tears in their eyes, stood together. They were bruised, they were broken, but they had won. In the aftermath, they rebuilt. They honored Rostova and her crew. They forged a new era of cooperation and understanding, built upon the foundation of their shared struggle. The krill and the humans continued to work together, their alliance growing stronger with each passing day. They explored the galaxy, sharing knowledge and expanding their horizons. The fleet of scrapyards was upgraded, and the next-gen war machines were designed. They uncovered forgotten worlds, discovered new life forms, and built a legacy that would echo through the cosmos for millennia to come. Then one day they detected a faint signal, a faint echo from a distant star system. A signal similar to the one sent by the progenitors. The Grand Arbiter, its voice resonating with cautious optimism, addressed the assembled council. It is a signal far, far away. Another structure similar to the progenitor one, a vessel, an abandoned megastructure, a beacon from the unknown. The humans and the krill looked at each other, their hearts filled with wonder and a hint of fear. They knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast and the universe was full of mysteries, and they were the ones to meet them. Well, the Grand Diplomat spoke. I think the time has come to explore. They looked at their vessels ready. They looked at the humans ready. And then at the unknown. The next chapter of their shared story, a story of survival, of unity, and of the unending human spirit, was about to begin. They had faced the darkness. They had stared into the abyss, and they had emerged stronger than ever before. Humanity, the scrappy survivors, had left its mark on the cosmos. And as the fleet, now a fusion of krill elegance and human ingenuity, prepared to journey to the unknown star system, a single thought echoed in the chambers of the krill. The Scrapyard had become a fleet of next-gen dangerous warships, and the universe would never be the same again.